Hey guys, this is Shane here from Echo Soundworks. In this video, we are going to take a look at the 11 best lo-fi plugins in 2021. So this video is going to focus more on the mixing and processing lo-fi plugins. Now, if you do need some lo-fi drums and some loops or some serum presets, I am going to be mainly using sounds from our free lo-fi pack Haze, which you see right here, and you can download all of that content for free. Link will be in the description. I will also be linking to all of the plugins that I go over in this video in the description as well. So just know there's no affiliate marketing going on. I'm not getting any money from any of the developers or any of the plugin creators that I'm talking about in this video. It's all based on my own opinion, having worked with these plugins. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I've been working on a bunch of projects lately where I've been doing a bunch of lo-fi processing. And as I started to go through my lo-fi folder of plugins, I realized I had over 30 lo-fi plugins. So I thought I should go and make a video about the best ones, because I have some that I opened once and I have not ever touched since because they just don't sound that good, or there's something wrong with it. So the criteria for this list and for this video is pretty simple. First and foremost, the quality of the sound. Second is how easy it is to work with any of the given plugins. And finally, we're going to consider the cost to basically quality ratio. All right, so let's cut the intro now, dive into our DAW, and check out the 11 best lo-fi plugins in 2021. All right, so before we check out the first plugin, let's quickly go over what's going on in the DAW. I have a simple chord progression playing some lo-fi chords with a really simple patch and serum just to start, because I want to showcase this first plugin and how powerful it is with something super basic like a sine wave. All right, and then I layer that with one of our drum loops from our pack Haze. So if you like working with loops, whether it's top loops or percussive loops, and you ever run into this problem where there's like vinyl crackles or tape hiss, and it's just too much for, say, like the intro or verse of a song or section of a song that doesn't have a lot of energy, like this one did. It'd be better when the song kind of reaches its climax. You can use a transient shaper to just turn down some of that noise. Right now, I know that's not a lo-fi plugin, but a cool tip and trick nonetheless. All right, so the first plugin that we're going to check out is called Wires, and it is made by a company called Audio Thing. So quick thing I should have mentioned in the intro, this is not a ranked list. We're not going from 11th best to first place, just 11 really cool, dope lo-fi plugins. So Wires is really unique in that it's actually emulating a specific device, and a pretty unique and rare one at that. So Audio Thing made this in conjunction with a YouTuber who goes by the name of Heinbach. He's a producer. He makes a lot of lo-fi music, and his YouTube channel is geared towards basically showcasing all of the crazy vintage analog lo-fi gear he has. So this is a Soviet-era tape recorder. It's got a very unique sound. Just by turning it on and tweaking a preset, this is what it does to that sine wave we just listened to. Right, so super vibey sound, very specific sound. If you don't have any lo-fi plugins, like maybe you're checking out this video because you want to, kind of get your feet wet with lo-fi production, I wouldn't suggest this as the first one that you get because it is so kind of niche oriented. But if you already have like RC20 or one of the other plugins that we check out on in this video that are more general purpose, then this one becomes really enticing because there's not another plugin that gets this exact sound. So in terms of price, I believe it's around 50 to 60 bucks. You can get it for less. You can typically get it for around 30 if you have any coupons from Audio Thing or if they're running any specials. All right, so next up is a free plugin. It's made by Izotope, and it's called Izotope Vinyl. So it does one thing, and pretty much one thing only, but it does it really well. It gives you a vinyl sound. So you get the vinyl static, the kind of crackles and pops associated with vinyl, as well as some other features. So if you're wondering, wait, I thought I had this plugin and it looks a little bit different, that's because Izotope recently updated its GUI. It used to be kind of gray, super ugly, not fun to look at. This one's a lot easier to look at and a lot better to work with. So we're going to actually apply it to a preset that's more formed. So the last preset we checked out with Wires was just a basic sine wave. This preset is actually a full preset. It's from our pack Haze, which again, you can download for free. All right, so let's turn vinyl on. So vinyl is pretty straightforward. The thing I like about it is you have these different eras of vinyl. and it basically changes the timbre of the color. So if I crank up the mechanical noise, you'll hear that more low end shows up, basically the newer it gets. Now, I don't know who was listening to vinyl in 2000. It certainly wasn't probably many people, but I really like 1930 and 1950. I use 1930 for intros or for sections of the track where I want to kind of suck the energy out of the track, and I'll turn this on like a group or a bus or maybe even the entire track because it narrows the frequencies that are present. And then you can use that to kind of transition into a bigger section of your song without getting overly big because it's lo-fi. So over at the right, you have two controls: mechanical, which controls the mechanical noise of the record, the electrical noise, which is the buzz, and then you have some sliders down here: dust, scratch. So dust kind of adds those pops and those sharp clicks that you associate with vinyl sound. And the scratch, you can actually see it's scratching the surface of the record. And so it kind of makes the needle jump around, which adds kind of these little glitches. And then warps the pitch. And this is basically a vibrato. You see down here it says sine. It's like a sine wave vibrato, inverted sine, peak, and the last one is inverted peak. Right, so pretty straightforward and simple to use, but still very effective. Now there's an RPM control down here, which will change the speed that the record's playing back, which will change how you perceive the warp and the scratches, essentially. And then there's even a spin down or a tape stop. So again, this is completely free. There's no reason for you guys not to have this. Link will be in the description. All right, so this next one is actually probably my favorite lo-fi plugin that I have. And that's just because I love how it sounds. And I don't know, something about it just glues together really well with other sounds. It is called Cassette, and it's made by Wavesfactory. It's got a beautiful GUI, simple to use, but you can dive into the back end and really dial in the sound as needed. So the front-facing GUI is quite simple. You have these three different modes and these different types of cassette. So it's trying to model different, literally like the actual tape in the cassette. So you can quickly change the timbre of the sound just by clicking through these. So I'm going to apply it on our piano here. This is a piano that we made. It's called the Loft piano. All right, so nice, pretty sounding, kind of a character piano. Now with an instance of Wavesfactory Cassette. In the back end, you can go and change the depth of the wow, the rate, so it can be slow or fast. You also have flutter controls, and you can even change how often the dropouts happen, which I like. Right, so just a super cool plugin. Like I said, this one is one of my favorites. It's a little bit more expensive. It's around $80. I don't know if it ever goes on sale, but let's say you need a cassette sound and you already have maybe Izotope, the vinyl one we just looked at, or even RC20. This is a really good option if you just want kind of a straight cassette sound. All right, so next up is another audio thing plugin, and this one's called Speakers. So it's not just speakers, you also have some mic choices as well. So you have these two slots where you can choose between any of these categories: cabinets, devices, phones, radios, speakers, and toys. And then over here you can see that you have microphones, right? All right, so you can control things like background noise, distortion, compression. I usually just like having those off and just having either the speaker or the mic. Like, that sounds pretty cool. I actually like that a lot. Let's hear it in context. Right, so this is a cool way to get not necessarily the kind of lo-fi crackles, pops, and tape hiss, but more like something was recorded on an old school vintage, giving you that lo-fi sound, actual device. So this one, again, is pretty inexpensive. Most of Audio Things plugins aren't that expensive. You can definitely get this for under 50 bucks. I think it is around 20 to 50 bucks, or 30 to 50 bucks, I should say, if there's no special. All right, so this next one is pretty crazy, pretty cool. It is called Valhalla Delay. I know what you're thinking. Why is the delay on a lo-fi plugin list? Well, there's a whole mode dedicated to tape, and you have a bunch of tape style controls. You even have wow and flutter, and you can get some really cool textures from this. I know a lot of you probably already have this plugin. So if you guys haven't used it with, from the purview of the mindset of, oh, that's a lo-fi plugin, check it out. So here's a guitar in this beat that is a nylon guitar I recorded. And currently all I did to get that sound, there's a little bit of a tape sound already happening. I actually, on the first pass of it, I changed the pitch using this plugin called Elastic Pitch, and that kind of messed with the formants. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply the Valhalla Delay. Now I just tweaked a old tape preset called Tape Snare Doubler, and the mix is cranked all the way up to 100%. Super cool tone. So then I just bounce that in place, and then you just have to adjust for the time. So there'll be a little bit of a delay because we cranked this up to 100% wet. So I'll show you what I mean. This guitar should start right at basically the down beat, right? It should be right on the down. So we're gonna bounce this in place. All right, so in the context of this beat, that added a lot of character to that section or to that guitar. All right, so next up we have Decimort by D16 Audio. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, I thought that was more of a distortion / saturation plugin. It oftentimes gets, marketed and advertised as such, but you can use it to downsample and degrade audio. So if you open up the preset browser, you'll see that there's 8-bit, 16-bit, there's ASR10, which is a famous sampler, CMI, CMI2, which is one of the actual OG samplers, a Fairlight CMI. So you can use this to color sounds and make things sound not shiny and, brand new, basically. So here's an example. This started out as a chord progression using one of our presets from our free pack Haze, and we're going to apply some Decimort to it. Right, so this is the CMI, so it's turning down the sample rate a little bit. We could even, let's try the ASR10. There's a filter. There's just a bunch of nice, kind of simple, easy ways to color a sound. And you can do this after you've applied some kind of flutter, some wow, maybe a vinyl effect or a cassette effect. You can do this to take it to kind of the next level. All right, so the next plugin we're going to check out is called Texture. It's made by Devious Machines. So this is a slightly different type of plugin than the ones that we've looked at thus far in this video. So Texture allows you to intuitively and intelligently add in textures to any musical source in your session. So for instance, here's how I use it all the time. Let's say I want to dirty up or lo-fi or make a snare or clap have more vibe, more lo-fi character. I'll use texture, and oftentimes I make that determination in the mix. I'll be listening back to the track and I think, I need some extra, lo-fi vibe or character on that clap. So I usually already have bounced it out to a loop, basically, right? So what this allows you to do is it allows you to add in textures that follow your audio via the envelope follower. You can, of course, just have them play back, which is pretty cool, but you can have it actually be more musical. So here's a drum loop. And let's say I wanted to layer in vinyl crackle, but I wanted it to follow the sound. I'm getting that vinyl sound, but it's not just playing and really loudly in all the quiet parts of my beat or my groove. So that's where I use it a lot with lo-fi. Now the cool thing is it comes with a bunch of cool sounds, and you can drag and drop your own samples into it. So if you have any cool Foley packs or things like nature sounds that you want to introduce into your lo-fi tracks, you can do that with texture very easily. All right, so the next one we're checking out is probably one you guys are all familiar with, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It is the RC20, the Retro Color by XLN Audio. So this is the plugin that really started this whole lo-fi plugin craze, right? These two presets, the Vinyl 1, Vinyl 2, I like how I did that backwards, Vinyl 2, Vinyl 1, and VHS, they're kind of like mainstays in a ton of lo-fi tracks. So simply you have the control, for those of you who live under a production rock and you've never seen this, you have these different noises that you can layer in, you can change the tone, and basically, yeah, just check it out. So here's a guitar track without RC20, and then with Vinyl 2 preset. So this doesn't go on sale that often. I think you can, if you're lucky, get it for about $50 to $60, but it's a pretty expensive one. XLN knows that they have a, really popular plugin in this space. So yeah, the price reflects that, but it is a little bit more expensive. But again, you don't have to have this one if you get two or three of the other ones that I mentioned, and you actually might end up having more, control over your lo-fi sounds if you do that. For instance, if you get a dedicated cassette plugin and then you have Izotope Vinyl, that's going to cover pretty much all of the types of sounds you see here. And then if you pick up a third one ever down the road, you have everything that RC20 offers and more. But I'm not saying don't get RC20. If you're interested in it, it's a great plugin. I can't recommend it enough. It's easy to use, and it's one of the most popular lo-fi plugins for a reason. All right, so this is kind of like more of like an 80s vintage sound as opposed to going back before that with vinyl, right? But it has a very cool coursing effect, and it has a nice static sound as well. So let's apply it here to this guitar loop. It's got the drift, which is kind of like a pitch wobble. You have a bit crusher, a rate reducer down here, and then the magic, which is kind of the magic sauce here. This is like the chorus. So if you're going for this type of sound, it's a great plugin for that. All right, so I have two plugins on the screen right now, and I just realized that my camera died, so it's going to be screen only for the remainder of this video. So these two plugins are kind of a toss-up for me. I like the GUI of Sketch Cassette a lot. It's really fun to work with, but I like the feature set of Tape Pro by Callium Audio. So both of these are fairly inexpensive. Sketch Cassette 2, I think, came out, so I didn't update to it. But it has a couple more features than Sketch Cassette, and I think it's about $30 now. Whereas Tape Pro is around $30 to $40. There's a currency conversion happening there. So it's around 40, maybe 45 USD. And in terms of what you get with feature set, Tape Pro has a lot more going on than Sketch Cassette, but they're very similar. So you could go with one or the other. If we're comparing this to Wavesfactory Cassette, I like the sound of that still more, but Tape Pro still has probably I don't know, it's a toss-up between those two in terms of features. So let's check out the sound of Tape Pro first, and we're gonna take a listen to it on this guitar. So we'll go and actually let's just go and load up a preset and then go back to the default actually. Just so we can start, because I tweaked some things off camera. All right, so you have a saturation section over on the left, then you have a response over here, which is going to be different cassette types. And you can see there are a bunch of them, way more than Sketch Cassette, way more than Wavesfactory. So there's micro cassettes, there's just a bunch of them, right? Let's do one of the micro cassettes. Right, and that's gonna change the frequency response to match the cassette type. Now we can add noise, and we have a bunch of different cassette types for noise. So you can kind of create your own cassette deck here. So we can do, we'll do worn, actually let's just do cassette type 4, and then we'll do micro cassette for our noise. We of course have wow and flutter. And we even have a delay section so we can simulate and create kind of tape delays. So in terms of features, this has pretty much everything you'll ever want in a tape cassette or cassette deck emulation. Now up here at the top, I should note that it does have up to 16 times oversampling, so it can create some latency and it can hit your CPU with that hard of a hit, but it sounds great, especially when you're printing your mix. Now if we compare this to Sketch Cassette, we don't have the oversampling options. We don't have nearly the types of tapes to choose from, but we have this really awesome interface. And, you know, with something like Tape Pro, you might suffer from a little bit of option paralysis. It's a lot to look at. And admittedly, the GUI isn't that great. It's incredibly basic and it's not laid out super well, in my opinion. Like, this doesn't do anything over here. It just looks, I don't know. It's like a static flat image of a bunch of tape shit. I don't know why that's there, but compare that with Sketch Cassette, like everything makes sense. It's laid out incredibly well. So yeah, those are two very valid, very convincing options for cassette emulations. All right, so to finish up this video, I'm actually combining two plugins into one, some more Audio Thing plugins. I swear this is not an advertisement for Audio Thing. I don't even know anyone from Audio Thing. I bought all of their plugins. I've never even gotten like a review copy of one of their plugins, but we have Reels to the left and Vinyl Strip to the right. So we've already looked at a couple vinyl plugins in this video, so I'll save that for last. This does have some cool features that you don't have in the other ones we've looked at, like RC20 and Izotope Vinyl, but let's look at Reels first. So this is simply just a reel-to-reel emulation. So it's gonna have a slightly different sound than a tape deck emulation, like a cassette plugin like we just looked at, and it's gonna obviously sound different than straight up vinyl. Just by having it on, though, it has a very usable sound that I like. So if we go over what it does, we have a couple different types of tape here. We have tape speed, which will change the playback rate down here that you see. And then you have some different controls. So echo, this is for creating more of that tape delay vibe. But then we have the tape controls up here. We have harshness. So let's go back to our initialized preset. This adds crunch and distortion, wow and flutter, detunes the sound. And then we have our hiss and our motor. So you can have this follow your sound via the envelope button, which is nice. For instance, Izotope's Vinyl does not have an envelope follower per se. So with rhythmic things like drums and percussive, melodic instruments, that's helpful. It makes it much easier to get the hiss in there without overtaking the entire sound. So you get the idea. Reels is a reel-to-reel emulation as opposed to cassette and straight vinyl. Next up, and to finish up this video, we have Vinyl Strip. So Vinyl Strip adds vinyl to your sound, but you have a lot of other things happening. You have a compressor, some distortion, reverb, EQ, obviously the vinyl, sampler, and master. So the cool thing about this is that these are actually organizable. You can take these and basically change the signal flow. So the presets, you'll see them all move around. And you can turn them on and off as well. So the thing that I like about this in terms of the vinyl is that you have the record age, just like you do with the Izotope vinyl. You have the noise control, obviously. You have the wow here. But the thing that I really like about this is that you can also pair this with the sampler, just kind of like with Decimort or even with Izotope vinyl. You can change the bit rate and the sample rate. So let's turn off everything else except these two. Right, it's very easy to dial in your custom settings, and then you can clean it all up with the EQ. And again, it's just nice to be able to move these around. So if Izotope Vinyl doesn't work for you, and because that one's free, I would check out Vinyl Strip if you're going for just a really deep vinyl sound. Otherwise, RC20 should have you covered for your vinyl needs. Between RC20, if you have it, and Izotope Vinyl, I don't know if you need Vinyl Strip from Audio Thing, but hey, like I said, I have over 30 lo-fi plugins, so I don't know why I have so many, but I do. All right, so that's gonna sum up our look at any of the plugins. If you think I missed any that you love that should be added to the list, I can always pin that to the top of the comments. Add that to the comment section below. All right, so that's gonna sum up this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can post those below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you guys aren't subscribed to our channel, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. The support really does mean a lot to us. And if you guys haven't ever checked out our website, echosoundworks.com, definitely head on over there. There's a ton of free content, samples, loops, and presets. And of course, there's some premium sound sets and sample packs as well. And lastly, if you guys use Instagram, consider giving us a follow. We run a lot of contests, giveaways, and promotions on that platform. And I think you guys will like what we're doing over there. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.